In episode 9, Alex woke up the next morning and she felt guilty. Felt guilty about what her and Paul Marks might do to a legacy media company like UBA. Paul tries to explain to her that she doesn't need to feel guilty. It's not like UBA gave her a career. She gave herself a career. He pitches Alex on the idea that she will be able to run her own studio the way that she wants. Create something from the ground floor. But as those two discuss tearing down UBA, not too far away in Bradley's apartment, Bradley, Chip, and Stella have congregated to tear Paul Marks down. They've been contacting former Hyperion workers about their relationship with Paul Marks, what was going on in Hyperion, and every single one of them have been nervous on the phone and cagey as hell. Through doing some digging, Bradley found out that a lot of Hyperion's researchers have left in the last couple months. It's been like an exodus. Unfortunately, though, she can't get anybody on the record to say what happened. They're all spooked. Stella is extremely stressed out about this because they're running out of time. And as she puts it, once the sale goes through, anything they find out about Paul Marks will just make them feel worse that he's now their boss. The deal, though, might just be in jeopardy. At the UBA office, Corey's excited about the Forbes magazine cover when his fixer comes in, because there's some weird trading activity going on regarding the UBA stock. It has shot up. I'm talking Elon Musk Dogecoin shoot up to the moon. And the problem is the fixer has no idea who's driving up this stock. Corey tells him that he's got 4 days to close this deal, so find out who is driving up the stock price so they can fix it. A couple hours later, the fixer calls Corey and says the only thing he's been able to confirm is that it's one single buyer, not a bunch of them. Corey goes and tracks down Paul to ask him if he knows anything about this one particular buyer, but Paul doesn't, nor does he really care. He looks at him buying UBA as just a formality because at this point they have the votes, so he's not worried about it, even though Corey is. Corey heads back to his office to try to find out who the particular buyer is. Down at Alex's office, she gets an unlikely visitor. It's Maggie Brener. Maggie's out of the industry, but she just wanted to stop by, say hello, congratulate Alex on the success that she's made for herself. And while Alex is a little weirded out by this drop-in, she does ask Maggie her opinion on what happens when the UBA deal goes through with media. And Maggie's best guess is that the three networks just cannibalize each other, and then they die off. She is very complimentary, though, of Alex and says that no matter what happens with UBA or the other news companies, Alex will be successful, because she's always been successful. Hours later, after everybody's gone, Alex is still in the office, and she runs into her old co-anchor, Bradley. She confides in Bradley that once this deal goes through, she wants to start her own thing. It's completely new, and she wants Bradley to be a part of it. Bradley's a little confused because of Alex's relationship with Paul, and also the fact that they talked about making change at UBA. Alex tells her that that's still the plan, but if they're at UBA, they're always going to be under somebody. This way, they'll be the bosses. She points out that her show can be recut by Corey whenever he wants, and Bradley's on the evening news, but she can't report on abortion. She kind of pitches Bradley the same pitch that Paul gave her in the morning, about starting something from the ground up. This offer takes Bradley pretty off guard. She does appreciate it, but she lets Alex know that she still has work to do at UBA. And she also says she believes the wrong guy is buying it. And that comment takes Alex off guard. She asks Bradley, what do you mean by that comment? And Bradley says, well, something happened at Hyperion. I mean, people are really pissed at Paul. They're just not talking. The more that Bradley talks, the more Alex is kind of getting upset about it, until finally Bradley asks, how well do you even know this guy? And suddenly, this friendly conversation turns contentious. Alex looks at it like it's a $40 billion deal. Of course, people are going to come out of the woodwork and talk crap about somebody, but Bradley believes that it's way more than that there's truth behind those comments. Alex ends up walking out of the room because it's clear that she's taking these comments as a personal attack. Of course, what Bradley's saying is accurate. Because Alex was in the office, she wasn't at home when Paul got the call from Amanda, letting her know that Fred Micklin did dive into the numbers, and if Paul were to sell off all of UBA's assets, he'd make a $10 billion profit. To which Paul says, great, that'll keep Hyperion afloat. She also informs him that she knows Bradley is snooping around. And Paul tells Amanda just keep an eye on it. But as Bradley's snooping around Paul's demanding that Amanda snoop around Corey, try to find some dirt, which is becoming nearly impossible to do. He doesn't really have any. Paul, though, is confident that Amanda will find some, so he tells her just keep digging. A little while later, when Alex does finally return home, unaware of the conversations that Paul was having, she tells Paul that she's ready to do it. She's ready to leave UBA and start this thing from the ground floor. Hitch her wagon to Paul Marks. The next morning, Bradley and Stella bring their concerns to Corey about Hyperion and what's going on. But much like Alex, he just dispels it because he really wants this deal to go through. He doesn't care that Paul Marks is planning on firing him. Stella brings up the fact that she has a friend who was a longtime engineer, and she brought up safety concerns about Hyperion, and then she was fired. And someone is silencing her because she wanted to talk, but suddenly she's gone dark. Still, Corey doesn't really care. In an attempt to get through to him, Stella says, well, did you hear about the transmission failure during the launch? And Corey had not. She informs him that when they did a deep dive into the situation, they found out the transmission loss was actually on Hyperion's end, not on UBA's. And all Paul Marks did was use the cyber attack as an excuse to blame UBA for his mistake. That mistake could have been deadly, but Corey still doesn't seem to care. Stella is so annoyed with Corey that she stands up and tells him that he makes people feel like anything is possible. It's one of the reasons she took the job, and Paul Marks does the same thing. But the difference, at least she thought, was that Paul Marks, it's BS. She thought Corey was being true, but it turns out they're just the same person. And it's not his fault because he got infected by Paul Marks. And after the deal goes through, she's not planning on being there. But what Corey doesn't know is there's a good chance he's not there. And I'm not talking about Paul Marks wanting to fire him. I'm talking about the dirt that Amanda dug up on Corey. She found pictures of Corey and a very compromised Bradley heading up in the elevator of the hotel. Now, we know what happened, but the look of it is he's about to take advantage of her. As for Bradley, she had to run off because she had a text message from Laura saying, we need to talk. The whole situation regarding Bradley covering up what happened at the Capitol has been eating at Laura. She's confided in friends about what to do. She even called Hal. But finally, she realized she just had to face Bradley and tell her that she knew what she did. She's completely disgusted in Bradley's behavior. She doesn't even want to be with her anymore. And Bradley is distraught. She wants to explain herself, but to Laura, there is nothing to explain. What she did was reprehensible. At the end of their conversation, Laura proclaims that she wants nothing to do with Bradley, and she's done with her. The next day, with 2 days before the sale of UBA to Paul Marks, in walks the old owner, Sybil. Corey kind of pokes fun at the fact that she's about to lose her family's company, but it's her who's going to have the last laugh. She's still working on getting the votes to shut the sale down, but in the meantime, she ran into Fred Micklin's wife. And she found out that Paul Marks is going to strip the company for parts and that Fred is helping him do it. Because of that, Sybil was the one who was trying to buy the stock and raise the price. This revelation floors Corey. He tries to get in touch with Paul to no luck, so he takes the elevator down to visit Paul's girlfriend. He asks Alex if she's a part of this, and Alex just says, a part of what? And Corey shakes his head and says, oh, of course you are. He goes off on a legendary rant, blaming both Alex and her boyfriend for trying to destroy what he feels like he built up. And when he's done, Alex throws the blame back on Corey, because in the end, he didn't give her a seat at the table. He's also the guy who said, hey, you got to get on board with Paul Marks. This ship is sinking, so she did it. The fact is, there is nothing to save. She then informs him that she will be starting her own thing and she will bring everybody of value with her, and she will pay them what they deserve. As soon as he gets out of Alex's office, Corey calls up Leonard to try to scrounge up an emergency board meeting and shut this thing down. Alex calls up Paul Marks to inform him about the conversation she just had with Corey. But Paul isn't worried about any of it. He has his driver send him to UBA, but it's not to talk to Alex or to Corey. The first person he wants to talk to is Bradley. He sits down with her right before she goes on the evening news, and he says, well, I just want to let you know, I know that you're investigating Hyperion. And then he blackmails her into shutting up, because Paul knows everything about the Capitol, about who knows about the Capitol, and it has Bradley shook. The message from Paul is clear. Stop investigating my company, or the news about what you did for your brother is going to get out, and everybody you care about will be ruined. Bradley is so shook that in the middle of the evening news broadcast, she resigns. Bradley walks out and doesn't answer a single question about why she's doing what she's doing. And while this has nothing to do with her relationship with Corey, it sure seems like that. Because at the worst timing possible, the Vault drops that picture that Amanda found. The picture with Corey and Bradley. And the picture they're painting is that he was grooming Bradley. As Stella is showing Corey this photo, Kyle walks in and says that he's been informed security is to come upstairs and escort Corey out of the building. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry. It'll be up in a day or two.